Welcome to the Fear and Greed Business Interview. I'm Sean Aylmer. We talk about all kinds of investing on this podcast, and one of the most popular topics is always property investing. But we've never really talked much about investing in new builds, residential property built for an investor. It's an interesting time for the discussion, with CoreLogic data showing that house prices have now fully or almost fully recovered from the post-COVID dip. They may indeed be heading into record territory again. Daniel Hubbard is the Group Manager Investment at Metricon Homes, the biggest builder in Australia, and a supporter of this podcast. Daniel, welcome to Fear and Greed.
Thanks, Sean. Thanks for having me.
So what's been happening? I mean, we've seen the 13 rate rises since last May. What's happening in the sector now as a result of those rate rises?
Yeah, look, a really interesting period. Despite those rate rises and record inflation, the property market has remained really, really strong. As you mentioned, property prices over the last 12 months have reclaimed the falls from 22. And in fact, capital city dwellings, on average over the last 12 months, have got up 7.8%. So strong demand driven by net overseas migration, a tight rental market, and of course a lack of supply. So what we're seeing is borrowing money, look, is definitely harder for some people, for sure, because of the significant rise in house prices and of course the interest rates. But what we are seeing is that the appetite to purchase, whether it's for investment or owner occupier, is still very strong. Sentiment towards the property market and the future property market is very strong. So it's really just a matter of an individual's ability to borrow at this time. But certainly sentiment and demand is very strong.
Okay, now like many sectors, construction's been through a challenging time. Metricon, I'm sure, hasn't been immune to some of those things. Supply chains, for example, labour shortages, narrower margins. Is the industry through the worst of it now?
Yeah, look, Sean, we definitely are. We've definitely come out of the other side of it. Metricon as a business going very, very strong, really well navigated by our directors and management team, and of course all of our staff here over the last 18 months to 2 years. Definitely returning to normal levels in terms of supply and trades and those issues that were very challenging over the last couple of years. Obviously, unfortunately, we saw a lot of builders not make it through that period, but we are entering into a more stable environment now. And certainly for us, it's business as usual, which is great because it was a tough couple of years for the industry.
Okay, so Metricon's right to go. Has there been a lot of change kind of because of COVID and because of initially we had the government subsidies and then we had the downturn in it. Has it kind of made the industry more efficient, or is it exactly the same as it was in 2018, 2019?
Well, what I would think the main change would probably be is not such a high volume, aggressive target based industry. I think right now sustainability and being around for the long term, providing good product, providing good service, and being a great builder. I think the change would be just in appetite for large volumes, more about being sustainable.
Okay, Metricon itself has a great reputation as being a very good builder. How important is that to it? And I'm not talking about the reputation. I actually mean being a very good builder, because the fly-by-nighters, I'm sure, don't last, but it's a pretty competitive industry you're in.
Yeah, look, it is. Look, our reputation is fantastic. Obviously, we've been around for 47 years. And, when people are building a home and they're spending significant amounts of money, and of course they have to go through a construction process and all the variables there, as you say, they want to be with an organisation that they can trust and certainly feel safe with. And I think, without question, Metricon's been known as that kind of builder for a really long time. So, it certainly is the reputation we have in the marketplace.
Stay with me, Daniel. We'll be back in a minute. I'm speaking to Daniel Hubbard, Group Manager Investment at Metricon Homes. Okay, now I mentioned in the introduction that while this podcast has talked a lot about property investment, we don't really talk much about new builds. What are we talking about here? Is it mostly off the plan?
Yes, it is. Yeah, absolutely. So Invest by Metricon, which is a division of the business that I run, we work with people on guiding them through easy to understand property investment strategies. Unlike our retail business or traditional business where people will go in and build a home for themselves, it's all about the product. It's all about the actual house. With us, we start back a step, which is it's all about the strategy. How do you do this? How do you unlock your equity? How do you structure your finance? Understanding your tax position, and just understand the strategy and the mechanics of how to invest and how to lay the foundations for the future to be able to expand on your portfolio over time ultimately building wealth for the future. In terms of the product, Sean, yeah, as you said, it is an off-the-plan situation. We'll source our clients land in high-quality estates in high-demand areas and then construct them the home and provide a complete end-to-end service. So starting with the strategy, starting with the land acquisition, location, home design, and then all the way through construction. We guide through people through the property management side of things. We have partners with depreciation schedules, finance, solicitors. So it's really holistic in terms of the offering. But yes, house and land packages off the plan in specifically acquired areas.
Okay, most of your clients in your area, Daniel, are they bigger clients, institutional, maybe family offices, that type of thing, who are typically your client?
Yeah, look, we have three main categories, and I would say by far the biggest category is your average everyday Australians, mums and dads who are out there that have the appetite to try and improve their financial future and looking for guidance on how to do so. So that's a big portion of our client base. Of course, we have another section would be the sort of savvy professionals who are busy, they're time poor, and they don't quite have the knowledge, and they're looking for a professional organisation to provide them with a really seamless service. Probably the smaller area of the market would be those that are very confident in their investment strategy. They know what they're doing from their strategy perspective and just want a good quality property to add to their portfolio. So it's quite a cross-section, broad appeal to all of those areas. But typically it's the mums and dads, investors, everyday Australians who are wanting to build wealth for the future and are looking for a professional organisation that they can trust and work with to guide them through the whole process.
Now, I just remind listeners, we are not an investment podcast, so always seek your own professional advice if making investment decisions, including in property. Daniel, what are some of the tax benefits of building new? Because you hear a lot about that.
Yeah, absolutely. So a big thing with new is the depreciation. You can claim your maximum depreciation both internally and externally on the build. So you've got the three main areas of deduction being the interest on the loan, of course, all your property-related expenses, your rates, your water, your property management fees and insurance, etc., which you can claim on. Those things you can claim on established or a new property. But the depreciation, as I said, if you go into a new property, you can claim that maximum benefit, that maximum non-cash deduction, which makes a big difference to your tax return, and of course, therefore, your out-of-pocket contribution towards servicing that loan.
What about prices? So we've talked about strategy, and it's important when you're investing in what you're talking about that you have a strategy. It's not just something that you do offhanded. Presumably, that strategy has got to be part of an investment strategy or an investment portfolio. Is that right?
Yes, it is. Yeah.
And then you take in the tax considerations into it. What about prices? How important is price? Because I'm sure for many of us buying a place we're going to live in, much of it's about price. Is price as important in your world?
Oh, look, it is for a few reasons. One, obviously, is accessibility. What can the average person afford out in the marketplace? So typically, we focus on property prices around the median house price. I've always tried to use that as a bit of a benchmark when investing. There's always broad appeal and appetite for affordable housing for people to buy, and of course, affordable renting. So I always like the idea of sticking into that median house price. We want to find a blend of being in the right areas, but of course trying to find the most accessible price point for people.
Okay, so what about the next 12 months, 2 years? What do you think will happen in the industry? Is it a good time to be investing in property?
Oh, look, I definitely think it is. All of the forecasting and all of the data that I'm seeing is all very positive. Of course, there are slight variations in the outlook for the future. Some will forecast it a bit stronger than others. I definitely see good growth over the next few years, and largely driven by population. Recent data, is that Australia's population forecast to grow 1.9 million over the next 5 years. Net overseas migration last year came in just short of 500,000, which was more than double the 235,000 that was forecast in last October's budget. The federal government has a target of 1.2 million homes being built in 5 years from 1st of July 24 through to 29. And that equates to about 240,000 per year, which historically in Australia has never been achieved in new dwellings. So, with that in mind, supply is going to be a big issue moving forward. Over the last decade, the average number of annual dwelling completions was 190,000. So to meet that 1.2 million, we need to increase our current pace of building by almost 40%, which is currently at around 170,000. So based on those supply fundamentals there, population growth and supply, that's going to really put quite a bit of strength in the market over the next few years, I believe.
Daniel, thank you for talking to Fear and Greed.
Welcome, Sean. Thanks for having me.
That was Daniel Hubbard, Group Manager Investment at Metricon Homes, which is a great supporter of this podcast. This is the Fear and Greed business interview. Remember, this is general information only, and you should seek professional advice before making investment decisions. Join us every morning for the full episode of Fear and Greed, Australia's best business podcast. I'm Sean Aylmer. Enjoy your day.